And Rising, Elder O back with you once again. The return of the Nephilim, the Canaanites, the Horites, the giants of old. In the book of Yahu or Matthew, chapter 24, verse 37, it reads, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days of Noah that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and given into marriage until the day that Noah went into the ark." Yahushua warned us plainly that as in Noah's days were, so shall it be also with the coming of the Son of Man. In the days of Noah, corruption was not only moral, but it was genetic, spiritual, and more. Genesis or Bereshit tells us that Noah was perfect in his generation or lineage, untouched by the mingling that filled the earth. Today, family, we will examine whether the spirits, systems, or seed line of the Nephilim, the Canaanites, and the Horites are returning, and why discernment in these last days is not optional, it's survival. So pay close attention to today's lesson, and I have a few powerful video clips that I would like to share with you. Fair use. Listen. We have a powerful lesson today, family. Look. As it was in Noah's days. World of iron cross. Shout out to the content creators. Look. And in today's lesson, we are going to prove without a shadow of a doubt, we don't deal with fictition or fairy tale. We're going to allow the scriptures to speak for themselves to show you just how real this is and how it is going on in our very modern day times. Let us go to the book of 1 Corinthians. Chapter 13, verse 1. "If I could speak all the languages of the earth and of Malachim or angels, but did not love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy and understood all of Yahuwah's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had faith that I could move mountains, but didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor. And even if I sacrifice my body, I could boast about it. But if I did not love others, I would have gained nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whether the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith. It's always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. What we are about to uncover in today's lesson may be shocking and revealing to the overwhelming majority of you. But I, Elder O, and everyone connected to this ministry, channel, or family, physical or spiritually, we ahab and love all people. Stay tuned to what we're about to uncover in today's lesson. Book of Bereshit or Genesis chapter 6 and verse 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them. Verse 2. The sons of Elohim. We are going to allow scriptures to explain exactly who the sons of Elohim are. That the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, meaning beautiful, and took them wives of all which they chose. And Yahuwah said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants. Verse 4, there were giants. That word giants is interchangeable with the word Nephilim, which means fallen ones. And in today's lesson, we are going to uncover and expose respectfully who and where the Nephilim are to this very day. There were giants or Nephilim in the earth in those days. You see that? And also after that, meaning the Nephilim or the giants, according to Genesis 6 and 4, made it through the flood. And we're going to prove this in today's lesson. And also after that, when the sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And this is where the Greco-Roman European pantheon get the terminology hero from. You see? Verse 5, and Elohim saw that the wickedness of men was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented Yahuwah that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Yahuwah said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and creeping thing and the fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. But Noah found grace or favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. Verse 9, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just and perfect man in his generations, meaning Noah and his sons had not mingled their gene pool with the rest of the people on planet Earth. And we're going to prove this. These are the generations of Noah. He was a just and perfect man in his generations. And Noah walked with Elohim. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim. The earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his ways upon the earth. How did they corrupt their flesh? We're going to prove without a shadow of a doubt they intermingled with the Nephilim. Who are the sons of Yah that was mentioned earlier in that passage of scripture? Let us go to the book of Jubilees, chapter 5, and it will tell you plainly who they are. Book of Jubilees, chapter 5, verse 1. And it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that angels, so-called Malachims, the angels of Yah saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves wives whom they chose, and they bare unto them sons that were giants, or Nephilim. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted his way, alike men, the cattle, the beast, and the birds, and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and orders, and began to devour each other, and lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was thus evil continually. And Yahuwah looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted his orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth which he had created. But Noah found grace in his eyes, and against the angels whom he sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth, and he gave a commandment to root them out of their dominion, and bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and kept separate. So the sons of what King James says, God, are Malachims, or angels. Let us get a few more witnesses, family, pertaining to the sons of Elohim, which are so-called angels, really Malachims. Book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 2. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels or Malachims unawares, meaning Malachs or Malachims, which King James called angel, can come in many different forms, including looking like humans. Let's get more passages of scripture to prove this. Let us go to the book of Genesis, chapter 18, to prove this without a shadow of a doubt. Verse 1. And Yahuwah appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground. And he said, Yahuwah, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I palau thee from thy servant. Let a little water, I palau, King James says, pray, the proper term is palau, you be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, so do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and he said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal kneaded, and make cakes upon the heart. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted it to dress it. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Notice in verse 8 that they are eating a calf, which is meat. Verse 9, and they said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, behold, she is in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and were stricken in age, and ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Then Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure? Come on. My master being old also? And Yahuwah said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I surely bear a child which I am old? Is anything too hard for Yahuwah? No. At the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of thy life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied it, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, nay, or no, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence, and looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah with them to bring them on the way. Notice these men sat down and ate meat and butter, and they conversated and prophesied with Sarah and Abraham, saying that they were going to have children. Let's go to chapter 19 to prove without a shadow of a doubt who these men are. We're going to let scripture speak. That way, no one out there can falsely accuse and say that Elder O said this. No, Yahuwah Elohim and his scriptures said it. Genesis or Bereshit chapter 19. Let's pick it up at verse 1. These are the same men that just got done prophesying to Abraham and Sarah sitting down eating meat. What does verse 1 say? Book of Bereshit or Genesis chapter 19 verse 1. And there came two angels or malachim, proving that angels or malachim, as we read in the book of Hebrews chapter 13, can come in flesh and blood form, meaning looking like men. And there came two malachims or angels to Sodom at evening, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, behold now, my masters, turn in, I allow you into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your way. And they said, nay, but we will abide in the streets all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him and entered into his house. And he did make a feast and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter, and they called to Lot and said unto him, where are the men? Verse 5 says men. Verse 1 says malachim or angels. So angels can come in flesh and blood form. You see, it says, verse 5, and they called unto Lot and said unto him, where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them. They had that foul spirit on them. The same thing that's spoken of in Romans chapter 1. The abomination. Just being careful with my words. Same-sex relations is abominable in the sight of the Creator. So bring them out that we may know them. So these malachim or angels came looking just like men. That's why back in Genesis or Bereshit chapter 6 verse 4, which we read earlier, it said that Noah and his sons were perfect in their generations. They had not mixed with the Nephilim. Listen.
I am not afraid of you. I walk with the Lord.
Yahuwah.
You should fear what comes next.
Look at the Nephilim.
You've done enough. You devoured everything in your path, and
giants.
This ends here. Now you answer to me.
Let's get it on. Oh, the Nephilim, the Horites, and the Canaanites are alive and well, and we're going to prove it without a shadow of a doubt in today's lesson. Back to Bereshit or Genesis chapter 6 and 4. These were the giants or Nephilim in the earth in those days and also after that, when the sons of Elohim, which we just proved, angels or malachim can come looking just like men, came into the daughters of men, and they bear children unto them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 6. And the malachims or angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he have reserved into everlasting chains under darkness unto judgment of the great day, as we've already read in the book of Jubilees, chapter 5. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Verse 14, and Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these things, saying, behold, Yahuwah cometh with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are wicked among them of all their wicked deeds which they have wickedly committed, and all their hard speeches which the sinners have spoken against them. Book of Enoch, chapter 15, verse 1. Then addressing me, he spoke and said, Shema or hear, neither be afraid, O righteous Enoch. Thou scribe of righteousness, approach hither, and Shema or hear my voice. Go and say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to plow for them, you ought to plow for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have you forsaken the lofty and Quadosh Shamaim or heaven, which endures forever, and have lain with women, have defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, have taken yourselves wives, have acted like the sons of men on the earth, and have begotten an impious offspring. You being spiritual, Quadosh, or so-called holy, and possessing a life which is eternal, have polluted yourselves with women, have begotten in carnal blood, have lusted in the blood of men, and have done as those who are flesh and blood do. These, however, die and perish. Therefore, I have given them wives, that they might cohabitate with them, that the sons might be born of them, and that this might be transacted upon the earth. But you, from the beginning, were made spiritual, possessing a life which is eternal and not subject to death forever. Therefore, I made not wives for you, because you being spiritual, your dwelling is in Shamaim, which they call heaven. Now giants, the word giants is interchangeable with Nephilim, children of the fallen. We're going to prove this. Now the giants who have been born of spirit and of flesh shall be called upon the earth evil spirits. You see, and on the earth shall be their habitation. Evil spirits shall proceed from their flesh, because they were created from above. From the Quadosh, or holy watchers, was their beginning and primary foundation. Evil spirits shall they be upon the earth, and the spirits of the wicked shall they be called. The habitation of the spirit of Shamaim, or heaven, shall be in heaven, but upon the earth shall be the habitation of terrestrial, meaning fleshly spirits who are born on earth. The spirits of the giants, or Nephilim, shall be like clouds, which shall oppress, corrupt, fall, contend, and bruise upon the earth. They shall cause lamentation, no food shall they eat, and they shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, and shall not one rise up against the Son of Men, and against women, for they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. Book of Numbers, chapter 13. And Numbers 13 is on the other side of the flood. The Nephilim, the children of the fallen, and the giants made it through the flood. Numbers chapter 13, let's pick it up at verse 26, is going to prove this. And they went and came to Moshe and Aharon and to all the congregation of the children of Yisrael unto the wilderness of Paran, to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and to all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, we came unto the land whither thou sent us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the city's wall and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak. You see, this is the seed line of the Nephilim, the fallen. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. The Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. And Caleb stilled the people before Moshe and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we were well above able to overcome it. But the men that went up with him said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are. And they brought an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people we saw in it were men of great stature. And there we saw giants. The word giants and Nephilim are interchangeable. The sons of Anak, which come out of the giants, and we in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. Numbers chapter 13 is on the other side of the flood, meaning the Nephilim, or the giants, still exist. I have a powerful clip that I'm going to share with you. Then we're going to come back and get several more passages of scripture.
It's number 2396. There is a book once quoted in the Bible telling of fallen angels, human giant hybrids, and a truth too dangerous to be preserved. So who decided to erase it from history?
The Book of Enoch is nuts. I talked to myself about it.
That's the Giants
It's
one,
not
right?
just the Giants, it's aliens. It's about the Watchers who came down and mated with human beings. Bro, I'm reading it right now.
I know you are. I
It's
already know.
bananas. She told me to read it. And she's like, you have to read this. It's nuts.
And what did Westhoff say? Did he say there's a legitimacy?
Yeah, it's 100% a legitimate text. It's legitimate religious text, but they decided not to include it because it's so nuts and because it goes against what the writings of the Torah.
Right.
So, but it was a few rabbis. Just a few rabbis decided. If the Book of Enoch was included in the Bible, it changes the whole story of the human race.
Why would the rabbis decide what goes
back
into the
then
Christian?
they had that kind of power. They just decided that it doesn't get included in the canon. This is a long time ago.
But yeah, I mean, this is like around. Well, who decided to canonize Bible, right? This is like Constantine time, right?
Well, that's for the New Testament, right? And so with the Old Testament, you've got Westhoff would be the guy to ask.
Wait a minute.
Maybe what's confusing is that it was an oral tradition for hundreds, if not 1,000 years before it was ever written down, right?
Well, I think that it depends on what book you're talking about, right? So,
But I
if you
mean,
have
the
books
Old
written by
Testament,
prophets-
if you go back to the oldest works of the Bible, weren't most of those stories handed down generation after generation and then eventually written down?
written into text. Well, some of them are written by prophets, and then, but I mean,
Right.
Enoch is apparently supposed to predate even the time of Genesis. And
The prettiest one is Ezekiel.
I'm telling you, Enoch is even crazier than Ezekiel.
Oh, I've read. I just don't. Did you find anything about whether or not Enoch is controversial?
You can look up the 4th century.
It was discluded as, I guess, since the 5th century, it wasn't in canon.
5th century.
And why did it get discluded?
It says the Jewish scribes or the priests didn't believe, the rabbis didn't believe it was canon.
Huh.
So it's considered, it's regarded as scripture.
But what's interesting is that even if that's the case, though, you have the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that actually, there's Ethiopian Jews, and that's considered the most pure form of the Bible. So you actually have a division of the Ethiopian Jewish class that actually recognized Enoch.
How weird is it that some rabbis 500 years ago made a call?
But that's what I'm saying is
1,500 years ago,
you
rather,
can't though
made a call.
discredit it because
That's kind of weird.
But you can't discredit it because, again, when you have people removing books, I think, look, and I'm not telling people what to believe. I'm just saying you should take a look at it. And so it's interesting because then you have, the evolution.
Guys that are
Listen,
Christians
listen.
who
This is
are
powerful.
well informed about the reality of the Genesis 6 affair and the Nephilim, who are in the mix at the highest levels. So
Here we go.
I had the opportunity to interview him.
Nephilim, the Kadar
And-
giant,
He told us
Kandar.
that in 2005, he flew a mission into Bagram Airfield. Now, this was not uncommon. He was flying routinely into Bagram Airfield to pick up what he described as high-value assets,
They made
which
it
were
through
usually
the
like
flood. This is
high-level
true.
Taliban guys. And so many of the missions he flew were classified. He thought this was a routine mission. In 2005, on this particular occasion, he lands on the tarmac,
Pay attention.
and he realized this was not a routine mission because he was met on the tarmac by who he describes, who he believes were Air Force intelligence or Army intelligence. He didn't know, but he referred to them as the babysitters. And he gets off the plane with his loadmaster, and these intelligence officers told him, highly classified, this never happened. And they escort him, which he had never been met on the tarmac by anyone before like that. They escort him over to the hangar where the cargo that he's got to load is sitting. And as he's getting close to this cargo, the first thing he's struck with is this pungent odor. He said it was very, very strong. It was this musky odor. It was a combination of BO and death. And it was very powerful. And he realized there's something dead under a tarp on this crate, on this pallet. And as he's getting up close to this thing, he realizes that it's a person And this is a air cargo pallet. So it's 9 feet long.
Yeah.
And the guy that's on this pallet, he's covered by a tarp. He's in the fetal position, but his hands and his feet and his head are hanging off the pallet. This is a 9-foot long pallet. So he immediately recognizes that this is a gigantic person.
Listen.
He's got to be 10 to 12 feet tall, more like 12 feet tall. And he walks up to the cargo, and there's a group of, he thinks they were Marines standing around, kind of guarding it, and the babysitters, the intelligence guys. And he said that this giant was, again, so large that he was in the fetal position, but part of his body's hanging out.
Say it.
Most of his body's covered by a tarp, but you could see the head. So he saw the hair, which was red.
Red.
The hair was red. He saw the hands and the feet, which had 6 fingers and 6 toes. And the feet were wrapped in a crude, like, canvas.
That's how it describes
footwear.
the giants in the scriptures.
And the skin of the giant was white.
White.
Like, almost like
Pale
white.
Caucasian.
But he thinks
white.
that might be because it was dead, had been dead for a couple days, and he said he would pound this thing with his fist, under the tarp, and he said it was a brick. It was solid.
Wow.
You could tell it was just muscular.
Wow.
He said, now, rigor mortis, it was dead, but he said you could just tell, just even by the parts of the body that were sticking out under the tarp, this dude was jacked. This dude was jacked. And the guys standing around the body told him that they had heard that a team of guys, probably special forces at this point, 2005, I don't think we had yet committed a lot of troops to Afghanistan at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember. I think this was early on. Could be wrong about that. But he said there was a team of guys that went on a reconnaissance mission. This is what the soldiers told them.
This gentleman and
guarding the body.
Stephen Quayle worked together.
And
Stephen
they were
Quayle,
out in Afghanistan, the Kandahar region.
expert on Nephilim and giants.
They came upon a cave. And there was a village in proximity to the cave. And the villagers were depositing various items at the mouth of this cave, food items and other things. And so they assumed that these villagers were aiding and abetting the Taliban.
Okay.
Who were hiding in the cave.
Okay.
And so they went into the cave, this team of guys. And instead of finding the Taliban, they were confronted with this very large, hostile giant.
Wow.
Who killed them all. And so another team was dispatched to go and find this missing team. And they followed the tracks and went to where the last transmissions were from this team. And he said that the story goes that when they went into the cave, the giant was eating on the guys that had slaughtered.
That's where you get the term cannibalism
and they were able to take him down. Now, there's another story told by my colleague L.A. Marsuli where he had a whistleblower come to him about this incident, which we're not sure if it's the same incident or a different incident, where the giant speared one of these guys from the second team.
Wow.
Might be a separate story, but not 100% sure. But they killed the giant, and then they airlifted him out by helicopter to Bagram Airfield.
Listen at this.
And this is where our pilot picks up the story, and he's there to load the body.
Okay.
And so they had to weigh the cargo to put it on the airplane. And the loadmaster weighed it at 1,500 pounds, subtracting the pallet, the air cargo pallet. They knew that the body weighed exactly 1,100 pounds, or approximately, I should say, 1,100 pounds. But they knew that was the weight because that was
That's
the
like
weight
the weight
that
of 2
was
or 3
being loaded onto
gorillas combined.
C-130.
You imagine how strong that
1,100
is?
pounds. So 12 foot tall, 1,100 pounds.
monster.
Wow.
And 6 fingers, 6 toes. And then the pilot, after they loaded the cargo, he had to take it to Qatar and unload it in Qatar. And then he told me he heard through the grapevine that the giant, the dead giant, ultimately made its way to Wright-Patterson Air Force
Wow.
Base.
That's a powerful story. Could you imagine that, family? I just Googled this. Silverback gorillas typically weigh between 300 to 500 pounds. So that giant, 12 feet tall, 1,100 pounds, weigh as much as 2 or 3 gorillas. And they saying that a gorilla can deadlift 4,000 pounds, roughly 4 to 10 times stronger than an adult human with a bite force of 1,300 psi. Do you realize how? So if this person, this Nephilim, is 2 or 3 times heavier and taller than a gorilla, could you only imagine the strength of a being that size? Oh, there's more, so much more. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 3. And let us look at Deuteronomy 3 and verse 11. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of giants. This is on the other side of the flood, meaning in our times. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the giants. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. Is this not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after the cubic of a man. So these giants and Nephilim made it through the flood, and they still exist and walk among us to this very day. Many of you may be saying, well, Elder, I've never seen a giant. Maybe so. Many of us haven't. But you see the Nephilim. Respectfully, let's prove who the Nephilim are and how they made it through the flood with love and respect to all of humanity. And to prove this, we're going to go to the companion Bible that was written by a biblical scholar, a highly intelligent theologian and scholar that wrote appendixes in a King James Version companion Bible, which is available online. And let's pull this up, and we're going to prove without a shadow of a doubt who the Nephilim or the giant are, and to prove that they still walk and live among us respectfully until this very day. So you can pull this up online yourself. See at the very top there, Mr. E.W. Bullinger's initials, and it's the King James Version. And I'm just showing you here. This is online on the internet for free. And what we're going to look at, family, is the appendixes dealing with the Nephilim and the giants. And one of the first appendixes that we're going to look at is Appendix 23. Let's expand this. You can pull this up yourself and read along with me. Let's see if I could turn it the other way to make it larger. Appendix 23. It is only by divine specific act of creation that any created being can be called son of God. For that which is born of flesh is flesh. Yahuwah, not God, is spirit. And that which is born of spirit is spirit. Yehukanan chapter 3:6. Hence, Adam is called son of Yah or God in Luke chapter 3 verse 38. Those in Messiah having the new nature which is by direct creation of Yahuwah, 2 Corinthians 5:17, Ephesians 2:10, can be and are called sons of Yah or God, John 1:13, Romans chapter 8, verse 14, verse 15, 1 Yehukanan chapter 3, verse 1. This is why angels in Hebrew is Malachim, plural, or Malach, meaning one. This is why angels or Malachim are called sons of Yahuwah, not G-O-D, in every other place where the expression is used in the Old Testament. Book of Job, chapter 1, verse 6, Job chapter 2, verse 1, Job chapter 38, verse 7, Telahim or Psalms 29 and 1, Psalms 89 and 6, Book of Daniel, chapter 3. We have no authority or right to take the expression in Bereshit or Genesis chapter 6, verse 2 and 4 in any other sense. Moreover, in Genesis 6:2, the Septuagint renders it angels, as we read in the book of Jubilees, chapter 5 renders it angels. The angels or Malachim are called spirits in Psalms 104 verse 4, Hebrews chapter 1 verse 7 and verse 14. For spirits are created by Yahuwah. That there was a fall of these Malachim or angels is certain from Jude chapter 1 verse 6, which we've already read. The nature of their fall is clearly stated in the same verse. They left their own Orterion. This word occurs only in 2 Corinthians 5:2 and Jude chapter 1 verse 6, where it is used of a spiritual or resurrection body. The nature of their sin is stated to be in like manner, that is, that of the subsequent sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, Jude chapter 1 verse 7. The time of their fall is given as having taken place in the days of Noah, 1 Peter 3 and 20, 2 Peter 2 and 7. Though there may have been a prior fall which caused the end of the world that then was, Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 and 2, 2 Peter 3 and 6. For this sin, listen, for this sin they are reserved unto judgment, 2 Peter 2 and 4, and are in prison, 1 Peter 3:19. Their progeny, called Nephilim, is translated as giants. Keep that, make a mental note, write this down. Their progeny, called Nephilim, is translated as giants, were monsters of iniquity, and being superhuman in size and character, had to be destroyed. See Appendix 5, which we will read shortly. This was the one and only object of the flood. Only Noah and his family had preserved their pedigree pure from Adam. See Genesis 6 and 9. This is why the earth had to be flooded. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be with the coming of the Son of Man. What were they doing in Noah's days? All of the earth had intermingled with the Nephilim, the bloodline of the fallen. So look at what it says. All of the rest had become corrupt, destroyed as Adamites. The only remedy was to destroy it de facto, as it had become destroyed. It is the same word used in verse 17 as in verse 11 and 12. See further under Appendix 25. We're going to read this shortly. This eruption of fallen angels, that's what Nephilim means. Fallen angels was Satan's first attempt to prevent the coming seed of the woman foretold in Genesis 3:15. If this could have been accomplished, Yahuwah's word would have failed and his own doom would have been averted. As soon as it was made known that the seed of woman was to come through Abraham, there must have been another eruption as recorded in Genesis 6:4, and also after that, that is to say after the days of Noah, more than 500 years after this first eruption. The aim of the enemy was to occupy Canaan in advance of Abraham so as to contest its occupation by his seed. For when Abraham entered Canaan, we read in Bereshit or Genesis chapter 12, verse 6, the Canaanite. Who are the Canaanites? The Canaanites was then, that is to say, already in the land. In the same chapter, Genesis 12, verse 10 through 20, we see Satan's next attempt to interfere with Abraham's seed and frustrate the purpose of Yahuwah and should be in Isaac. This attempt was repeated in chapter 20, verse 1 through 18. This great conflict may be seen throughout the scriptures as it forms a great importance of subject biblical study. In each case, the human instrument had its own personal interest to serve, while Satan had his own object. Hence, Yahuwah had in case to interfere to avert the evil and danger which his servants and people were wholly ignorant of, as they are to this day. The following assault of the great enemy stand out prominently: the destruction of the chosen family by famine, the destruction of the male lineage, so forth and so on. You can pull this up in your spare time. Now let us go and read Appendix 25. Then we're going back to the scriptures and we're going to use a geneticist to prove this without a shadow of a doubt, a modern day geneticist. Appendix 25 from the Mr. E.W. Bullinger's Companion Bible. The progeny of these fallen angels with the daughters of Adam, see note Genesis 6 and Appendix 23, are called in Genesis 6 Nephilim, which means fallen ones. Nephal, to fall. What these beings were can be gathered only from scripture. They were evidently great in size as well as great in wickedness. They were superhuman, abnormal beings, and their destruction was necessary for the preservation of the human race and the faithfulness of Yahuwah's word. The letter J only 400 and something, 500 years old. This is why the flood was brought upon the whole world of the Unyali, 2 Peter 2 and 5, as prophesied by Enoch, Jude chapter 1, verse 14. But we read the Nephilim again in Numbers 13, verse 33, which we've already read. There we saw Nephilim, the sons of Anak, which come from the fall. How is it, may ask, could this be if they were all destroyed in the flood? The answer is contained in Bereshit chapter 6, verse 4, where we read, there were Nephilim or giants in the earth in those days, that is to say, in the days of Noah, and also after that, meaning in our times, when the sons of Yah, which we've proven who they are, came into the daughters of men and bare them children, and the same became the mighty men, Gabor, heroes, which were of old, men of renown, literally men of the name, that is to say, who got the name were renowned for their unyaliness. So that after that, that is to say, after the flood, there was a second eruption of these fallen angels, evidently smaller in number and more limited in area, for they were for the most part confined to Canaan and were in fact known as the nations of Canaan. So the Nephilim are the Canaanites. You see? Let's get it again. So that after that, that is to say, after the flood, there was a second eruption of these fallen angels, evidently smaller in number and more limited in area, for they were for the most part confined to Canaan and were in fact known as the nations of Canaan. Who are the Nephilim? The Canaanites. as the date of this second eruption, it is evidently soon after became known that the seed was to come through Abraham. Ab means far, rather, Ra, son, Ham means dark and swarthy. Abraham, the father of the melanated races, you see, classified as what you would call today black, really different shades of brown. It says, known that the seed was to come through Abraham when he came out from Haran, Bereshit 12:6, and entered Canaan. The significant fact is stated, the Canaanite was then, that is to say, already in the land, and in Genesis 14:5, there were already known as Rephaim and Eminem, and had established themselves in Ashtoreth and Kernim and Shavah and Kirtithim. In chapter 15, verse 18 through 21, they are enumerated and named among the Canaanite people. The Canaanites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, and the Amorites, the Girgasites, and the Jebusites. Genesis 10, verse 19 through 21. Compare with Shemot or Exodus chapter 3, verse 8, verse 17, chapter 23, verse 23, Deuteronomy or Devarim chapter 7, Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 17, Joshua 12:8. These were to be cut off and driven out and utterly destroyed, but they were not, family. And we're going to get this in part 2 of this lesson, which will be coming in a couple of days. And we know not how many away got to other countries and escaped general destruction. If this were recognized, it would go far to solve many problems that connect with anthropology. This is why they always, like the Smithsonian and many things, when they find bones of giants and all of this and that, they muddy up the water and they hide this stuff, because the truth of the matter is, family, they've been trying to hide in plain sight, respectfully, who they are and whose they are. You see? And this is not a salvation topic. All race, colors, and creeds can be saved. Way back in Genesis chapter 4, the Yahuwah Elohim told Cain, if thou doest well, will thou not be accepted? Look at what it says. As their other names were called, Anakim, from one Anak which came of the Nephilim. Numbers 13, verse 22 and 33, which we've already read. And Rephaim from Rapha, another notable one among them, from Deuteronomy 2:10. So look, they are still here to this very day. This is what the book of Jeremiah is talking about. The children of iron have mingled themselves with the children of the clay. Let's allow the geneticist, Dr. Spencer Wells, to briefly explain this. They made it through the flood. Listen.
Great things for history.
George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, William Howard Taft, and President Barack Obama. One young girl traced them all back to one common ancestor.
They're all cousins and all grandsons of John Lackland.
President Thomas.
Listen.
Research on Jefferson's why has already given us one huge surprise. It had long been suspected that Jefferson fathered children by his slave, Sally Hemings. A 1998 study used the Y chromosome to prove that it was almost certainly true. It showed that this white man apparently had black descendants.
The children of the iron mixing with the children of the clay.
Something about Jefferson that no one suspected. A discovery not about his descendants, but about his ancestors. And it could take us a big step toward Adam. Wells noticed that Jefferson's Y chromosome mutations don't look European. So where did Jefferson's ancestors come from? To find out the truth, Wells needs another DNA sample. The trail leads to rural Virginia. One of the closest living relatives founding father lives in Freeze, Virginia.
Now, do you have any sense of your own ancestry and who you're descended from?
Thomas Jefferson.
You hear that?
Dean Jefferson shares the founding father's last name.
Here we go.
He also inherited his Y chromosome.
It's not going to hurt, and you rub it on the inside of your cheek. Really scrape away, up and down.
Everything about Jefferson points to him being European. Genealogists have traced his ancestry back to medieval France and Britain. But the test reveals something you might never have imagined. Jefferson's Y chromosome links him not to Europe, but to the Middle East, what is now Lebanon and Syria. This is the ancestor who lived in a land that no longer exists, called Phoenicia. The Bible calls it Canaan. Who lived in a land that no longer exists, called Phoenicia. The Bible calls it Canaan.
Look at this. They were not annihilated. They still exist. They still exist, family, respectfully. Look up that. They are known as the nations of Canaan. The Canaanites are amongst us, respectfully. So family, I did respectfully an internet search, and once again, this is not tied to salvation. Anyone that repents and is immersed and takes hold of the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahuwah Elohim can be saved. Please look this article up. Discovery Magazine. This was printed in May 2011, and this article and clip of magazine is on the internet for free. All non-melanated people are part Neanderthal, Nephilim. Look at this. Scientists find a DNA change that accounts for white skin. Scientists said yesterday they have found and discovered a genetic mutation that largely explains the first appearance of white skin, as that Kandahar giant and all giants are Nephilim, that largely explains the first appearance of white skin in humans tens of thousands of years ago. A finding that helped gives solves one of biology's most enduring mysteries and illuminate one of humanity's greatest stripes. The work suggests that the skin whitening mutation occurred by chance in a single individual after the first human exodus from Africa, when all people were brown, so-called black skin. When all people were black or brown skinned, that person's offspring apparently thrived as humans moved northward into what now is known as Europe, the Caucasus Mountains, Caucasian. You see? It says, now towards Europe, which helped give rise to the lightest of the world's races. Leaders of the study at Penn State University warned against interpreting, finding, and discovering race and gene. So this is done by Penn State. So then you see this yourself. I spoke this into Google. I heard that geneticists state that Caucasians and Europeans are the newest race of people on the planet Earth. The statement that Europeans or people with white skin, European ancestry, are the newest or most recent evolved population is technically accurate. So why through Hollywood and all of this deception, they pretend to be the Israelites? They pretend to be Adam and Eve, when the modern day scientists and geneticists are saying respectfully that all non-melanated people are part Neanderthal, which trace back to the Nephilim. Adam and Eve were ruddy, so-called black. But through Hollywood, misinformation and deception, they pretend to be a people that they are not, when geneticists and science are saying that they are the newest people on earth. And this is not hate. I Ahab and we Ahab and love all people. This is the truth. You see? See, they respectfully run a druidic system. And through Hollywood, holly branch or wood is a limb or a tree that they use for witchcraft and mysticism. So when they create these multi-million-dollar budgeted movies and they keep pushing the same false narrative, people automatically begin to receive what they see on the television screen, tell lies to your vision or movie as truth. Why not admit the truth that the melanated so-called black people are the original Adam and Eve and mothers and fathers on planet Earth? Look at this. Masters of witchcraft, the Amorites, which are the Canaanites. Look at the drawing, look. But through Hollywood and deception, they respectfully pretend to be a people that they are not. And they've been hiding in plain sight. Adam and Kawa were red, ruddy, like the African soil, as was King David, ruddy, a word used to refer to the red or fair complexion in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. All 12 tribes are black. All 12 tribes. In Genesis 25:25, it says that Esau was ruddy, as was Adam. This is what Esau would have looked like, and his brother Jacob, Jacob, would have been a darker Shakur brown. There's a false doctrine out there that Esau, respectfully, is the white man. That's a false doctrine. Now, these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took his wives, plural, not one but two, of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Alohabah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zebo the Hivitite. Same chapter. And Bashima, Ishmael's daughter, the sister of Nabat. So Esau had 3 wives. You see? Look at what verse 6 says. And Esau took his wives, 3 of them, and his sons and his daughters, and all the persons of his house, and his cattle, and all his beasts, and all his substance which he got in the land of Canaan, and went into another country, went into the country from thence, from the face of his brother Jacob. Let's look at verse 20 of this same chapter, family. These are the sons of Seir, the Horites, who inhabited the land, Lothan and Shobal and Zebeon and Anah. Because of time, I don't know if we're going to be able to get deep into the Horite lineage, but if not today, we will, I promise, in part 2. So as we read earlier or heard the geneticist, Dr. Spencer Wells, that did that worldwide genetic test years ago on every race of people on planet Earth, it stated that the presidents are all related, and they are related to the Phoenicians, which are the Canaanites. Now, proving without a shadow of a doubt, according to the King James Zondervan Study Bible, these are the Zondervans, Mr. Bernie and Pat Zondervans. And this is a photo of them. Now, according to the Zondervans King James Study Bible, who are the modern day Canaanites, which are the Nephilim, which are connected to the Horite bloodline in whom Esau married? Who are they? Zondervan King James Study Bible, Genesis 9:25 And he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. According to the Zondervans, Mr. Pat and Bernie Zondervans, which I just showed you their picture, the footnote for Genesis 9:25, Noah's prophecy cannot be used to justify the enslavement of blacks, since those cursed here were Canaanites who are Caucasian, who are the Nephilim. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be with the coming of the Son of Man. This is what was going on in Noah's days. The children of iron, the Nephilim, began to intermingle with the children of the clay. And Yahuwah Elohim was trying to, and he did, preserve a righteous bloodline. You see? This is not a salvation topic. All races can be saved. This is a truth topic. As it was in Noah's days, so shall it be with the coming of the Son of Man. You see, right knowledge and information doesn't cause you to hate anyone. This is why they've been muddying up the water so much and not telling the truth. They've been respectfully trying to hide who they are and whose they are. But as Psalms 85:11 says, that in the last days, truth and righteousness shall spring and ooze out of the earth, and the truth cannot be held back any longer. That's who Esau married. This is what's going on in modern day times. Pay attention to this. Listen.
It's very low. It's 1.38 in Europe, whereas the rate needed for survival is 2.1.
As it was in Noah's days.
Few births. Fertility rate is very low. It's 1.38 in Europe, whereas the rate needed for survival is 2.1.
Japan needs you. Japan is calling specifically for black men. Now, I know you are saying why, Tasha. They say they need babies, and black men tend to make a lot of them. For saying that,
all non-melanated races
that women needed a little help in the birthing department, and when it comes to our men, there was a story going around, and I just reported on a story that was already going around, but my platform happened to be the biggest, and this story went super viral because I called for black men. They said that they needed immigrants in order to come work in the workforce, and then their birth rates were down, and they couldn't have babies, and so, they're saying in so many words that they need help with population regeneration, okay? Because the numbers is going down. They're having like 1.5, one kid, barely a half a kid to each family and stuff like that. And so they're really trying to allow, immigrants in the country, and you know who those immigrants are, because it ain't nothing but Africans going up over there. So,
of y'all asking me, Denise, what's your time in Kings? All right?
As it was in Noah's days, so shall it be with the coming of the Son of Man.
Baby.
This is what was going on in Noah's days. Respectfully, all non-melanated races on the earth are in a demographic decline. In order to maintain a birth rate or a race of people, you must have a birth rate minimum of 2.1. All non-melanated races are in a birth rate decline. And people say, well, respectfully, if you go and look up respectfully the genetics of Hispanic people, respectfully, they just are a blend of a multitude of different nationalities, respectfully. All non-melanated races are in a birth rate decline. So this is what's going on in the world. As it was in Noah's days, so shall it be with the coming of the Son of Man. This is why they're promoting what they're promoting now, family. And please hear my heart. I'm not, the only thing I am putting out is the truth. I have given you the geneticists, the research material that I'm using, the theologians that I'm getting this material from. So this is not my word. This is not my research. I am giving you all of the information that I'm giving you. I gave you the source so you can go look it up yourselves. This ministry or I do not preach or teach hate whatsoever. We ahab love and respect all of humanity. But in these last days, the truth must come out and support the work, family. Much ahab. So you see what was going on in Noah's days. The children of the iron, the non-melanated people, started procreating with the children of the clay. Book of Deuteronomy chapter 7:1. When Yahuwah thy Elohim shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, and the Hibbitites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when Yahuwah thy Elohim shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. But they did not, and now they become the most powerful nations on the earth, the children of iron, through government, military, and might. So now it has to be put in the Creator's hands. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. This is not our battle, but it belongs to Yahuwah. And when Yahuwah thy Elohim shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them, and make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shalt thou not give unto thy sons, nor his daughters shalt thou take unto thy sons. For they will turn thy son from following me, that they may serve other Elohim, such as Baal, which means Lord. That's their deity, which I've taught on many lessons, such as Zeus, which is Jesus. The Messiah's true name is Yahushua. Go back and look at my other lessons. Look at what it says. So the anger of Yahuwah be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. But this shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art a set apart people unto Yahuwah thy Elohim. Yahuwah thy Elohim have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are on the face of the earth. Book of Judges chapter 3 verse 1. Now these are the nations which Yahuwah left to prove Israel by them, even as many as Israel had not known of all the wars of Canaan. The Canaanites were always in opposition with the children of Israel, as they were back then, as they are to this day. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war, at least such as before knew nothing thereof, namely the 5 rulers of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Zidonians, and the Hivites that dwell in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon even unto the entering of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel, melanated people, so-called black people, not to be confused with the blue-black Hamitic people. All Israel are different shades of brown, from a ruddy red bone brown to a beautiful dark shakur brown, like a chocolate brown, not to be confused with the blue-black Africans. And they were there to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of Yahuwah, which he commanded their father by the hand of Moshe. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hibbitites, and the Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their Elohims, such as Lord and God and all of that. God, Enoch 69:6. The creator's name is Yahuwah, and his son is Yahushua, and Lord is Baal worship. You see? And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahuwah and forgot Yahuwah, their Elohim, and served Balaam, which means the Lord, and groves. Book of Numbers, chapter 24, verse 18. And Edom shall be a possession, Seir also be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob or Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek, which we're going to deal with next lesson, was the firstborn of the nation, but his latter end shall be he that perish forever. And he looked on the Canaanites and took up this parable and said, strong is thy dwelling place, and thou puttest thy nest in the rocks. Always building bunkers and all this and that. Think they're going to get away from the Creator, but they will not be able to, as it states in the book of Obadiah, which we'll cover next lesson. Nevertheless, the Canaanite shall be wasted until Ashur shall carry thee away captive. And he took up his parable and said, alas, who shall live when El doeth this? And the ship shall come from the coast of Chittim. Listen, and shall afflict Ashur, and shall afflict Eber, and he shall also perish forever. And Balaam rose up and went and returned to his place, and Balak also went his way. Yeshayahu or Isaiah chapter 23 verse 1. The burden of Tyre. Tyre is the son of Canaan. Howl, ye ships of Tarshish, for it is laid waste, so that there is no house nor entering in. From the land of Chittim it is revealed to them. Be still, ye inhabitants of the isles, to whom the merchants of Zidon. Zidon is a Canaanite. He's Canaan's son. Genesis 10, verse 15 through 19. That pass over the sea have replenished, and by great ward is the seed of Shihor. The harvest of the river is her revenue, and she is made a mart of nations. Be thou ashamed, O Zidon, which is a Canaanite, for the sea have spoken. The Canaanites and the Phoenicians and the Zidonians are all one and the same people. They were a seafaring people. Have spoken, even the strength of the sea, saying, I travail not, nor bring forth thy children, neither do I nourish up young men, nor bring up virgins. As at the report concerning Egypt, so shall they sorely be pained at the report of Tyre. Pass ye over the ships of Tarshish, Spain, the Spaniards. Howl ye, the inhabitants of the isles. Is this your joyous city, whose antiquity is of ancient of days? Her own feet shall carry her afar off to sojourn. Who have taken this counsel against Tyre, the crowning city, whose merchants are princes, whose traffickers are honorable of the earth? Yahuwah of hosts have purposed it to stain the pride of glory, and to bring it contempt, all the honorable of the earth, passing through the land as a river, O daughter of Tarshish. The Spaniards, which were involved in the slave trade as well. There is no more strength. He stretched out his hand over the sea and shook the kingdom. Yahuwah hath given a commandment against the merchant city to destroy the strongholds thereof. And he said, thou shalt no more rejoice, O thou oppressing virgin, daughter of Zidon. Arise and pass over Chittim, there also shall thou have no rest. Book of Jasher, chapter 90, verse 1. At that time, in the 5th year, the children of Israel had passed over Jordan, after the children of Israel had rested from their war with the Canaanites. As they were doing back then, so they are doing now. But the only thing is, the overwhelming majority of the children of Israel, the children of clay, don't even know they the children of the book. But the children of iron, the Canaanites, the non-melanated, have always been subjugating and oppressing the children of clay, the children of Abari. You see, it says they had rested from the war with the Canaanites. At that time, great and several battles arose between Edom and the children of Chittim. And the children of Chittim fought against Edom. And Abinas, king of Chittim, went forth in that year, that is the 31st year of his reign, and a great force with him of the mighty men of the children of Chittim. And he went to Seir to fight against the children of Esau. And Hadad, king of Edom, heard of his report and went forth to meet him with a heavy people, a strong force, engaging in battle with him in the field of Edom. And the hand of Chittim prevailed over the children of Esau, and the children of Chittim slew of the children of Esau 22,000 men, and all of the children of Esau fled before them. And the children of Chittim pursued them, and they reached Hadad, king of Edom, who was running before them, and they caught him alive and brought him to Abinas, king of Chittim. And Abinas ordered him to be slain, and Hadad, king of Edom, died in the 48th year of his reign. And the children of Chittim continued their pursuit of Edom, and they smote them with a great slaughter, and Edom became subject to the children of Chittim. And the children of Chittim ruled over Edom, and Edom became under the hand of the children of Chittim, and became one kingdom from that day. So the children of Chittim overpowered the Edomites. And remember, in Genesis 36, verse 2 and 3, Esau's first 2 wives, which he was a ruddy melanated black man, he married Canaanite women who are Caucasian. Then he was overpowered by Chittim. You see, it says they become one kingdom from that day, and from that time they could no more lift up their heads, and their kingdom became one with the children of Chittim. And then we're going to get more into this in part 2. So stay tuned, family. Listen, family, because of time, I'm going to close out for today. The days of Noah did not end because of ignorance. They ended because the world refused to repent. Yahuwah did not preserve Noah because he was popular, but because he was pure and obedient. So let's be found clean in doctrine, undefiled in covenant, and awakened in scripture. Oh, Father Yahuwah, in the precious and saving name of your Son, Yahushua, the Messiah's name, we allow unto thee, Father Yahuwah, and ask of thee that this word that we've received today, may it fall on good ground, spring forth and manifest in each and every one of our lives. In Yahushua, the Messiah's name, we allow unto thee, Father Yahuwah. So shall it be. Amen. Family, part 2 is coming. Stay tuned. Much ahab to all of humanity. Elder O signing off. Shalom.